Good morning. How are y'all? It is so good to be back at Hillside. This is an amazing church body. This is a building. Do you realize that? You are the church. And so when I hear the phrase, hey, did you go to church? It doesn't compute to me. Wait, how can you go to yourself? You are the church. We should say, did you go to the gathering at the building on the hillside? You are the church, right? It's so good to be here. I love this community of people. Last time I was here, I talked about my favorite flower was an iris because I grew up around them. My uncle grew them in his backyard. And about 3 weeks after I spoke here, somebody in this gathering, I don't know who you are, but there was no return address. I came right back to say thank you, but the gesture was, there was a picture of an iris and a note of encouragement. That's who you are. It's amazing. Great glory. That's a hard phrase to say because it's the opposite of one another. Grit with glory? No. That must be a mistake. When you look at Jesus, I love him because he was unpredictable in the scriptures. People didn't know what he was doing. His disciples, they didn't have a clue what he really was about until his last days. They just followed him. The crowd surrounded him because he was miraculous. And I love it because Jesus knew what it was to have grit. He knew what it meant to have glory. And that's our lives, correct? We strive to find peace in our pain, hope in our despair, and beauty in our brokenness. You ever been to Disneyland? I'm sure you have. You don't live very far away. I live in Arizona. I'm from California originally, but I've lived in Arizona for over 12 years. I haven't been to Disneyland since I moved out there. I like going to Disneyland. So there's a story of a mom and dad who have a little girl. Her name is Emma. She grew up watching all the princesses of Disney and the cartoons that she would watch the videos of. And she loved it. Dress like them, be like them. And at 4 years old, mom and dad thought, hey, we think she's ready. We think she's old enough to experience the Magic Kingdom. Let's take her to Disneyland. But let's not tell her a whole bunch about it because we want to see her surprised and enjoy this day. So they go to Disneyland, which, by the way, is called the happiest place on earth. I don't know why the ride It's a Small World is there, because it's boring. And because I have a disability, it used to be, I don't know if the rules are still the same, if you have a disability, you don't have to wait in the lines. And so my friends would always call me when I lived in LA. I knew what they were up to. And they would always, throughout the day at Disneyland, they would always try to get me out It's a Small World. Why? It's a waste of time. I wish I had a BB gun whenever I got on that boat. You go inside that building, you shoot all the dolls, that would be a blast. So Emma and her mom and dad go through the turnstile. And they enter the Magic Kingdom. And the first thing you see, you can't miss it. It's that picture right there that you see. It's called the Floral Mickey Mouse. I call it the Flower Mickey Mouse. You see that in the train station above it. It's so picturesque that there's even a plaque that used to hang, I don't know if it's still there, that says, a Kodak moment. And all the families would stand there with their kids and take pictures in front of the Flower Mickey. Emma is beside herself. 4-year-old, She's jumping up and down, holding on to Mom's hand. And then she just calms down and just stands there in awe. And her parents let her take in the view, the scene, the floor of Mickey Mouse. But Emma stands there for a long time. She's a kid. She'd be running around like, what else to explore? But in her 4-year-old mind, because Mom and Dad didn't tell her much about Disneyland, just to surprise her, she didn't have a clue. So she thought that this is all there was to Disneyland. And she thought they were going to go home. They just got there. Isn't that sad? So as I think about that story, I think about our Christian walk with Jesus. I love you guys. You guys give me feedback. Oh, yes, he did. and it's hilarious because in that moment, so many times we, the church, are so content with just staring at the flower of Mickey Mouse and the power of Jesus. And we don't want to venture beyond the tracks. In order to experience the Magic Kingdom, you have to go around to the right or left of the flower of Mickey and go underneath the tracks to experience Main Street or all that there is. But if you're just standing at the flower of Mickey, you don't have perspective of what's beyond it. And so many times I feel like you as a believer in Jesus, myself included, I'm not guiltless of this. We are so content with staring at the flower of Mickey of Jesus' power. And there's so much more, church, to what he wants to do in your life. If you have your Bibles, go to Mark chapter 8, verse 22. They came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. And when he had spit on the man's eyes, I love this miracle because that's disgusting, and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" He's like, "Well, duh, you just spit in my eyes. How can I?" He looked up and said, "I see people, and yet they look like trees that are walking around." Isn't that intriguing? Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything what? Clearly. A second look. Jesus sent him up saying, "Don't even go into the village. Open up our eyes with wonder." Did we just sing that song with that lyric in it? Worthy of all the songs we will ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath that we will ever breathe. We are supposed to live for you, the church, my body, my vessel, my brokenness, my grit. And what I love about this miracle is it's interesting because Jesus could have healed this blind man at the first shot. He did it twice because he was strategic about why he was doing this. It was not only for the benefit of the man that was blind, it was for the benefit of his disciples that he was starting to prepare for his death and resurrection to give them the keys to the kingdom of heaven. But they needed a second look. Because up to that point, they were just staring at the flower of Mickey of Jesus' power. And Jesus was about ready to take them outside the village beyond the tracks to show them who he was so that they could understand his purpose and mission. Grit. Glory. Here's a couple pictures of my life progression. I don't know how old I am in that picture, to be honest. I looked like Dad. Next picture, I love this one. Shaggy hair, Simning. A towhead of a kid, probably 4th grade there. Next picture is this. Okay, don't judge me, but that is a perm. And that is a wheelchair that I'm sitting in. And that is where the grit of my life story began. Next picture is this. This is me hanging out in my chair. Next picture. Goofy ears and my niece Megan. And the last picture is me at Wheelchair Olympics with my family and friends. Grit. I could outrun my whole school. No joke, when I was a kid. I talk like them, I walk like them, I was one of them. And then in 8th grade, I go to bed one night, perfectly okay. And the next morning I woke up, and the irony of that day, when I woke up that next day, it happened to be Easter Sunday of that year. I woke up that day, that day when I stood to my feet, my head fell forward. So far forward that my chin was touching my chest, and I couldn't lift it back up. And I thought I slept wrong. Maybe there was a kink, it's going to work itself out, but it never went away. So we started seeing doctors. My parents took me to specialists. I was hospitalized for medical tests. And 2.5 months later, I was diagnosed with this extremely rare muscle nerve disease called torsional dystonia. What it basically means this. It's the twisting of your torso. So because your torso is twisted, your vocal cords get twisted with it. It's why I speak the way I do. Because my torso twists, it's why I walk the way that I do. 8th grade. For a junior high boy, that's puberty. And add a disability on top of that. To this day, I've not met anyone with a specific diagnosis that I have. It's rare. If that was a lottery ticket, I would be rich today. I'm not, I'm poor. But because it was so unique and rare, I felt lonely. I felt like God cheated me. I felt robbed. He wasn't fair. He didn't love me. He's not powerful. And what I realized was this, that what was happening to me is I was expecting Jesus to be the flower and make him power that I thought he was. I put him in a box. And what Jesus was trying to do to my soul was to take me outside the village around the tracks. The man at the pool, the man at the pool of Bethesda, I met the man at Bethsaida who was blind that was healed. And Jesus had to take him away from his influences, his village, to do what he did to that man's life. That's where that man was able to see clearly. Because oftentimes our vision is blinded when Jesus, in fact, is really showing us the clarity of who he is. We just have to look for it. And maybe today, Jesus wants to give you a second look. Maybe he's doing something in your life that's so unique, but it's difficult because it's all about grit. It's all about pain. It's all about wounds. And maybe what he's doing in these instances is he's wanting to give you a second look. He wants to take you beyond the tracks and show you something different of who he is in his glory. Between my 8th grade year when I woke up and was diagnosed to my senior year of high school, I didn't see a better day. Every day got worse. My organs were starting to fail because my torso was twisting. They were getting damaged. I got involved in swimming. My senior year of high school, I was confined to a wheelchair. I sat in that wheelchair for 5 years. Never thought I would walk again. I got involved in swimming, and that became a water therapy. That became a powerful tool that God used to help me walk again after about 2.5 years of being involved in water therapy. I didn't think it would happen. I didn't get involved in water therapy because I thought it would heal me. Did you hear that word, heal me? Healed? You're not healed. Look at you. You're not healed either. Look at you. I'm healed. I'm healed. Why? Because I'm the church. You're healed because you're the church. But you're too worried about the flower Mickey Mouse. God's pulling you around, taking you beyond the tracks. Are you willing to venture there? Are you stuck? Then we go to Matthew 16, verses 13. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" And they replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you? Who do you say I am?" And Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this is not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." At Caesarea Philippi. I've been to Israel 3 times. And every time we go to Israel, we always stop by at this location called Caesarea Philippi. This is what it looks like today. It's actually gorgeous. It's a red rock. That cliff extends up 100 feet. That place was wild in the ancient of days. It was all about idolatry worship. Wicked, evil things went on there. And it's so intriguing that Jesus picked that spot to have this intimate conversations with his 12 disciples about who do the crowd say that I am. And then in verse 13 it says, "But what about you? Who do you say that I am?" And Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man. That's his favorite title of himself in the Gospels. He doesn't call himself Lord. Why? Because Jesus came to serve. He took the form of humanity in Philippians 2 and emptied himself. God, but he didn't consider himself equal to God, something to be grasped. But he became God in a body to serve us, to show us what it means to suffer. Son of Man is a term he used so that he could relate to the people that he was reaching. And he was curious to know what the crowds thought of him. Oh, he knew what they thought of him. He was God. He knew all things. But he wanted to hear it expressed through his followers because he wanted to drive home the point. Oh, Elijah, something here, John the Baptist, something, maybe Jeremiah. But what about you? He shifts the focus from the masses to the individual, the church. Who do you say that I am? When Jesus picked the spot, he had to take his disciples out of their village, the Sea of Galilee, where all of his miracles predominantly happened there. Caesarea Philippi is about 25 miles northeast of the Sea of Galilee. He had to take his disciples outside their village and take them beyond the tracks to have this moment with them. It went from the flower of Mickey to life abundantly. And Peter spoke up. And you are the Messiah. You are the Christ. You are the anointed one. The Son of the living God. Peter spoke it. It wasn't a discourse. It wasn't an explanation. It was a breath of a statement in one sentence. You are the Christ. You're it. There's no other name above you. There's no one beside you. Only by your name can a man be saved, and through no one else. Reveal your love to us, Lord. You are it. We are hungry for your truth. And he confessed it. And right after he confessed it, Jesus went to Peter's past and said, "Blessed are you, Peter, son of Jonah. Simon, son of Jonah." He went back to his heritage. Remember where you came from? Remember your roots. Chris, remember waking up in 8th grade? Remember waking up to a muscle and nerve disease that you can't control? Remember the way society treats you, how people stare at you in a rude way? Remember the names that people picked on you because you looked different? Remember that you were called an idiot, deep, stupid, and worthless? Remember those moments? Remember that heritage? But I want to reveal something to you that flesh and blood can't reveal. I want God to dwell into your soul and tell you who you are. And on this rock, this red rock that is used for idolatry, used for vile things, detestable acts, on this rock, I'm going to build my church. Peter, you are called the rock for a purpose. Jesus in 1 Peter, Peter takes that symbolism of a rock and writes about it. Jesus, he says in 1 Peter, is the cornerstone. He also says that we are like living stones being built up. You don't go to church, you are the church. You can't go to yourself, you are it. The question is, what are you doing with that it? Are you just standing as a flower beacon of Jesus' popularity and coolness, power? If that's all he is, you're missing out. My life is broken out, and it will always probably be broken until the day I die. And my life is a gift, it's not a curse. It's a blessing. Is it hard? Yeah. It's tough. Because of my pain, it's hard to explain, but I am lonely. I'm not talking about lonely for people. There is an innate loneliness that I have in my soul that won't go away. And it's this longing that I can't explain. It's because I'm different. It's because I am pain. It's because the majority of the society doesn't understand me. I fool them all the time. It's hilarious. So I'm in Trader Joe's one day. I have no business in being at Trader Joe's. My wallet and Trader Joe's do not compute. But I like their snacks. You gotta love their snacks. When I am out and about doing errands, I forget I have a disability. I think that's a gift from God. Why? Because I'm comfortable in my skin. It's me. It's who I am. I've adapted. Let's go. And I forget I even have this until somebody stares at me. And I'm in Trader Joe's walking down an aisle, filling my basket with snacks, and there's a woman who's probably about 80 years old. I like old people. They're cute. Real small, tiny. And I see her out of my peripheral vision. She stared at me, but it's not a stare of rudeness or condemnation. It's a stare of curiosity. And I always can tell the difference. And she was staring because she was just curious. I see her, but I fill my basket with goodies. And I'm giggling at myself because I'm being watched. Stalker. And she wants to get my attention bad. And I don't give her the budge. And it becomes a game. And she rams her basket into my basket. Well, hello. How are you doing? And she says, you are so happy? I said, what? I knew exactly what she said. I just wanted to hear it again. You are so happy? Just like that. And the whole store turned and stopped to see what we were doing. I said, well, thank you for noticing. I want to be happy. But you know what? I have a lot more joy than I do happiness. Because being happy always disappears, but joy is always with you forever. Even in your grit. Because in that grit, he wants to gain the glory. The church extends. And Jesus tells Peter that he's giving him the keys to the kingdom of heaven. He's not going to be here much longer. That gives me chills. I get to hold my daddy's keys. I'm a prince. I'm a royalty in his sight, even though I don't deserve it because my life is filled with sin. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I don't deserve his grace. But that's why Jesus came to empty himself. It's not about the crowds, it's about you. Who do you say Jesus is? Stop looking at the flower Mickey. Get over it. Get to know him. You don't go to church, you are the church. And if your life is filled with grit, there's purpose to it. It's never wasteful. And I'm not here to condemn anybody in their pain because I live with it every day. I'm here as your brother in Jesus Christ to tell you that there is hope in despair. I don't know where it's going to come from, but there is. Hang on. There is peace amid your pain. I don't know where that's going to come from, but it's there. Hold on. There's beauty in your brokenness. I'm not sure how you're going to get to that revelation for yourself, but it's there. Hold on. It could take years. For me, it's taken decades. Because Jesus is not a product that we serve. He's a process that we get to know. But who do you say that he is an important question this morning. Is he really what you claim? Because there's no one like him. And what he wants to do this morning is give you a second look and take you beyond the tracks of what he wants to show you more of who he is. You hold the keys. And the church extends. And if it's in Trader Joe's, hallelujah. But the church extends beyond it. Verse 20 goes on to say, then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah because people weren't ready yet. And from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. That's a lot of words of pain. And Peter took him aside, the very Peter that just confessed that Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord. This shall never happen to you. And Jesus turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. That's bold and powerful. Because you are a stumbling block to me, and you do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. I'm healed. Yeah, I look different, but I love it. I can't take pride in the fact that I'm one of a kind. I don't want to be arrogant. No. But my life is a gift. Oh, I struggle every day with it. I poop in a colostomy bag every day. I hate it. It's a plastic bag that hangs off of my side, and I have to go to the bathroom in it every day. And it leaks, and it stinks, and it makes noises, and it's embarrassing if you don't know I have one. That's my cross that I bear every day. I hate it. But I'm walking. I'm breathing. You know what I like about the word impossible? If you split that word up into two words, you get I'm possible. You ever think about that? You are possible because of Jesus Christ. You matter because of who he says that you are, not what the crowd says about you. If you have identified your life in Jesus Christ today in this room, you are the church. And you are a part of that rock, that cornerstone. You are a living stone that he is building up until the day you die. And he often uses grit to get you there. Isaiah 53:3 is my favorite verse, one of them in the Bible. Jesus was despised, rejected by men, a man of sorrows, and familiar with what it means to suffer. That's the Savior I want to serve because he gets me. He gets my baggage. He's carried it himself in different ways. I just want to encourage you, church, that you need a second look. Don't be blinded by the glitz and glamour of what people say Jesus is. Be enamored with the Messiah that he wants to be in your life. Venture with him. Because he wants to take you outside your village of influence to show you something different. It's about what he wants to do in you. Worthy of every song that we can ever sing. Worthy of all the praise that we can ever bring. Worthy of every breath that we will ever breathe. We live for you, Jesus. Church. That's our anthem. He gives you the keys to the kingdom. What are you going to do with those keys that you have in your possession? Hide it? Or use them to open things? Set other things out of your life that you don't need. Stop staring at the fire Mickey of Jesus' power and the glamour and glitz of what the world says Jesus is. Oh, he's gonna the health and wealth gospel. No, there's going to be grit. But he wants to take you beyond the tracks. You can't see it right now because you're too worried about this, but he wants to take you over there. a second look. I want to be contagious for Jesus. I want to be happy. But more importantly, I want people to see my joy. I don't want to watch as a spectator. I want to live as a participant. Because I realize that circumstances can either barricade me to my past or liberate me into the present. That's who I want to be. I have wounds. My biological father was ashamed of me because I came down with a muscle and nerve disease. He didn't know what to do with a son with a disability. I have wounds. I believe those lies still to this day. It's a struggle. My dad passed away of cancer several years ago, and we had the opportunity to reconcile that. And he apologized and said that that was foolish of him and a mistake and a regret that he could never take back. He was sorry for what he caused me. You know, on his deathbed, he told me this: I'm proud of you, Chris. I'm proud of you, what you have become. And I am so sorry that I missed out, because I was too worried about me. Having a disabled son was hard. And I was too worried about what it would do to my image. And I was a fool. And I regret that. And I forgive him. You'll still carry wounds, people. It's part of the grant. But if you relinquish that to Jesus, you'll see the glory in it. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you, Lord, that we are the church. That, Lord, you're all about second looks. I pray that in this building right now, if there are people there with wounds or pains or hurts or brokenness that just doesn't understand what that grit means, that, Lord, you would give them something different today to consider. That, Lord, they would be willing to take you by the hand. And if you lead them, to show them what you want to reveal because of that grit. God, I pray that you would uplift them and encourage them. Because you are worthy of every song I could ever sing. You are worthy of all the praise I could ever bring. And you are worthy of every breath I could ever breathe. Thank you for letting me live for you. And I want to thank you, Lord, that you suffered. We often forget that aspect of your life. The Son of Man to the living God. You suffered hurt and pain for me. And I thank you for those scars, that I can relate to you on those. In order that I can live for you. God, I pray that you would help us to live for you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.